Welcome back to What's News, guys. I'm J77, not wasting any time. Let's get started. I might as well touch on this story here because I really want to talk on this. It's involving Woody Allen. I will leave a link to a video feed, being if the Huffington Post still have that. I don't know how they do their live videos, where they keep it on for everybody to see. But I will leave a link because I think it's important to show just how crazy this whole thing happened after Woody Allen has received a special award where he wasn't there, but someone who was a close friend of his actually accepted on behalf, and how this has blown up terms of the going back very bad vibe with the family. Apparently, the Huffington Post did an interview with Roman Spolansky's victim. As you guys know, that she was sexually assaulted by this famous director. He had fled the country after it was reported that he did had a plea deal, but the judge, because he wanted to make a name for himself, actually throughout that deal was going to give him a harsher sentence. As a result, he fled the country and has been pretty much in exile ever since. The victim uh, of the attacker, who the person who was victimized by Polanski, actually spoke about the Woody Allen situation. And as you guys don't know, Mia Farrow, along with his son, has pretty much have kept what has happened, kept a pretty much resentment, pretty much hatred for Woody Allen ever since he had married his adopted daughter. Um, and as a result, it pretty much tore the whole family apart. And in Twitter, it was pretty much revealed. No sooner as it was announced that Woody Allen was honored, me and fellow took to tweets basically accusing him of being a child molester, for allegations, which I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know if it's true or not. No charges have ever came about it, but she made it clear that the Gold Globes are honoring that kind of man. They should not be honoring. And needless to say, the family, along with his son, went on the bashing as well. Now, I haven't seen anything as I speak right now to you, because it has been a few days, whether or not Woody Allen had talked about it. From what I understand, he did make any comments, and I don't expect him to make any comments on this. But make no mistake about it, it is a very uncomfortable situation. And she has spoken about the situation, basically saying that you can't, you can't really put what has happened in terms of Woody Allen's past, even now, to his work. She basically saying it must remain separate, which pretty much has been happening with Roman Polanski, which make no mistake about it, um, he should have served jail time, but he never did, and he has been made an exile. But that didn't stop actors and actresses from flying over where he is to film movies. That didn't stop the Academy Awards or the Golden Globes award, or any award, for actually honoring him for his filmmaking. He has been nominated a couple times for Best Picture. He's been recognized for being critically acclaimed for films like The Pianist, including other films they have done recently. And despite the fact that of his past, it seems that Hollywood seems to have pretty much said we're not gonna bother with that. We know about it, but we don't care. We know he's a good filmmaker, and we're willing to put that aside to get the job done. That's not to say that all directors have that luxury. The guy who was responsible for Powder, it took him years before he finally got a new job. That was when he was doing Jeepers Creepers. So it really all pretty much depends. There is a bias when it comes to that. It is a bias depending on whose director is which. Um, Polanski is a famous director that people are willing to just brush aside. And for the Woody Allen situation, I just got this to say. Um, he was never arrested for marrying his adopted daughter. She was of age. Does it question me how that all came down? Absolutely. Am I, again, I have to say this, do I understand why Mia Farrow and his son is angry at the situation? Oh, yes. I can completely understand. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be angry. That was pretty much an embarrassment, not only to them, but to the whole entire family. Woody Allen, his adopted daughter, Mia Farrow, for that thing to happen the way it is. And whether believe it or not, it did at one point hurt Woody Allen's career for a while. But again, he keeps making good films, great films, and that pretty much alone seems to have slowly let that disappear, especially when it's very clear that they've been together for so long. I don't know how long, it's like 10, 15 years now. So it's kind of hard to say, even though I don't agree with it, what's done is done. They made the decision they made, and I'm not going to go any further about it. The thing that really bothers me is that being Phil's not letting it go. And it's not making her look good. Even though I understand why she's so angry, so bitter at him, so hurt by him, so betrayed by him. The tweets she made, the allegations she made, doesn't make her any better. Like I said, William didn't say anything. He did deny the allegations of molestation. And like I said, unless this person who has no problem speaking to the press actually push further and have an investigation done, I can't really comment on the issue. As for the Golden Globes making the Dad Award ceremony, I think the Golden Globes taking it the same way as they took Roman Polanski. They're separating it. This is not have nothing to do with him. This is business. They are looking at his such achievements, and that's it. Whether his personal life, what do you believe about what happened in his personal life? Hey, that's between them and the family. They're looking like that. It has nothing to do with what he has done throughout his overall career. And you know what? I can't really blame him for that. Now, that doesn't mean that the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards will do that to all people, but for what he has done, and let's be honest, the films he made in the last few years were stunningly good films. So, and his career was even more stunning. Keep in mind, his career goes back to 1960. This is the year 2014. He's still making movies, and people are still going to him for movies because he's that freaking good at directing. So, to me, it's pretty much how do you see it? Um, I find that review weird because honestly, the situation with Roman Polanski and Woody Allen are totally two different things. Okay, Roman Polanski was actually sexually assaulted a teenage girl. He never went to jail for it. So if anything else, I probably would think that there would be more criticism towards Hollywood how they handled him than they would with Woody Allen. But then again, like I said, it's to each its own. It's whatever you guys, your own views and your own opinion is. But I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about this. I wanted to make that the first topic of the day because it is something that, to me, I find very, very. I find that that mere fella didn't need to go for that. I really do. I really thought that she was trying to disdain and saying an honor, and I just think it turned out wrong on her. But again, I can actually see why because again, she never got over that. She never forgave him for it, and the pain is still there within the family. The family is still torn apart by Woody Allen's decision. And unfortunately, that's something that Woody Allen's going to have to deal with for us his days, sadly. Moving right along, um, I want to talk about this story that I wanted to talk about, and it says here that Pope Benedict had deflocked 400 priests over sexually molesting children in just 2 years. The article uh, goes on and says that Pope Benedict, I believe the 16th, removed nearly 400 priests in 2 years for molesting children, and it has been revealed the shocking statistics for 2011-2012 represent the first time that Vatican had revealed how many priests who had been defunct. Prior to that, the Catholic Church only revealed the numbers of allegations of sexual abuse cases it has revealed. The revelation came after centuries of tradition which saw the Vatican dealing with cases internally without the involvement of the police. The document was prepared from data the Vatican had been collecting to help the Holy See defend itself before a UN committee in Switzerland this week. Archbishop Silvio, whatever his name is, a Vatican UA ambassador in Geneva, referred to just one of the um, damning statistics during 8 hours of criticism and questioning from the UN Human Rights Committee. This raised the number of defunct at in his sharp contrast in 2009, when only 171 priests were removed following allegations. Charges were brought by Pope Benedict and Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger after suggestions that bishops around the world was not following church law, while officials used ways to keep the allegation from surfacing. Prior to that, Bishop routinely moved problem priests from parish to parish rather than subject them to trial or turn them into the police. They have since been remarkably evolving in holy sees and house procedures to discipline these priests since 2001. The article I will leave for you guys to read for yourself. Um, I'm going to do the pros and cons here. First off, Pope Benedict has been doing a lot to change the image of the Catholic Church. There is no question about that. A lot of people are going to admire him, and even those for what his stance on terms of the gay issue and other social issues that he deemed not important, or feel that people should be judging people based on orientation. That's not his job; it is God's job. Have really caught people a lot of attention to the point where they actually was slowly, I say slowly, is coming back. He is also putting himself into a lot of radar of conservative Catholics who really are not feeling him right now. A lot of people felt that he don't even represent him, which is kind of funny because he is the Pope and he represents all. But he has actually have made some enemies within the church and even enemies of conservatives in the states. Rush Limbaugh definitely comes to mind when that situation has happened. But in terms of the 400 priests being removed for charges of molesting children, I have to say good for him, but I think there's still a lot to go. I think there's a whole lot to go because there's still a mentality in the church and even just in society abroad when it comes to certain institutions that by covering up or putting on the rug, the problem will simply go away. The problem is not going to go away. There is a lot to be done. And to me, just basically firing ministers, priests, firing principals, the teachers is not just it's not going to cut it. You need to get to the root of the problem, and I feel that the church, as well as society abroad, is not really getting to the root of the problem. Again, great job from the Pope. He's bringing it to light. He's trying to make some changes here. But like I said, there's still that mentality, not only just in the church, but inside abroad, that they feel by sweeping all the rugs, that will solve the issue. And to me, that will never solve the issue. In fact, in terms of the Catholic Church, it made it a whole lot worse. Because again, there's this attitude saying we can't reveal this because if we reveal it, it will show that the church is weak and it shows that the church don't have a grip on their own people who's supposed to be in charge of spreading the good word and being a perfect example for the community. I put a stamp on perfect because that's how some of these preachers must act. They really are. It's not an easy life, trust me. But I'll leave a link below. I'd like to hear your opinion on that. And I'm going to move right on to another report that which I wanted to talk about. And now I'll leave it to Christie. Christie. Oh my God. I don't know what to think about this. If it's not one thing when his administrative staff is another thing. But I'm going to read this here. More than a dozen New Jersey officials, including top aides of the government of Governor Christie, were served with subpoenas on Friday as the state assembly begins to investigate into the massive bridge traffic jam that was apparently politically motivated. Christie, seen as a likely Republican candidate for the White House in 2006, has denied any involvement of the so-called Bridgegate scandal that is dogging his second term of office. And here's the strange thing: as we speak, he hasn't took the oath yet, which is not something that the government needs, especially when he hasn't been sworn in for a second term. And there's another incident that's happening, which I'll talk about a little bit after I read this article. But it says here, 70 Democrats named 13 individuals who were served with subpoenas seeking information relating to the September traffic scare created by the abrupt closing of the access lanes to the busy George Washington Bridge, which spanned to the Hudson River connecting New York and New Jersey. Along with these revealing subpoenas were Christie spokesman Michael Dunworth and Colin Reeves, communication director Merrick Kombla, and the government's incoming chief of staff Reagan Eager, and Christie's former campaign manager Bill Stepin, I believe his name is, Tepin. The list also includes David Sampson, chairman of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, as well as Bill Borgoni and David Wildstein, two former Port Authority officials who has resigned. The two batches of email between top Christie aides and officials at the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, which oversees the bridge, appeared to show that lane closures were orchestrated to punish Fort Lee's Democratic mayor for not endorsing Governor Christie's re-election bid last year. For days, hours, long jams, leaving commuters fuming, and delay school buses and emergency vehicles. Nothing on the email suggests that Christie had any direct knowledge of the plan to close the lanes. Christie has described himself as devastated and blindsided by the aide's actions. Port Authority's executive director Patrick Fall, I believe, who ordered the lane reopened, said in a publicly released email that he believes the closure violates states and federal law. New Jersey federal prosecutors have opened an investigation into the matter. The state assembly, which is expected to hold hearings on the lane closures, has prepared subpoenas for 20 people, but represent are only being identified once they have been successfully served, assembly officials said. The New Jersey State Senate panel is likely to issue subpoenas next week as part of its own investigation. We're going to try and work together, says State Senator Lieutenant Winsberg. On Tuesday, the Christie's administration was said it is cooperating fully with the hired outside legal counsel. I will leave the link below. That is just one of a few things that is going on right now. In case you guys haven't heard, as I'm speaking right now, this came to my attention that I think her name is Don Zimmer, has spoke, I think on NBC about bully tactics in terms of Sandy funds. In fact, the federal investigation is being made on that situation as well, where he was withholding funds for the wrong reason, using it to pretty much get what he wants in terms of projects done. And this is also surfacing. Now, of course, Christie has denied this, and but there are people coming forward with the situation as we speak. In fact, there are protesters protesting in Trenton, at least until Christie is sworn in for a second term, about how the Sandy Relief Fund has been handled. So he has a lot of stuff to deal with right now, and to be frankly honest, this is not going off to a good start with Christie. One of the things I'll say again is when this was blown up in September before the election day came out, it was already blown up to its attention, and he laughed it off and basically said this was the work of the Democrats. This is their smear campaign. And from what I saw on that picture, it didn't look like he was taking it seriously. It didn't look like he was going to conduct an investigation. And I keep saying that the people who think it's going to help you are the people who will sink you. And sure enough, he trusted the people too much, didn't conduct his own investigation, and as a result, evidence has surfaced saying that this is actually some truth to it, which leads him to immediately react the way he's been doing. So, again, as to whether he knows or not, like I said, a lot of people have told me, my uncle said this to me. I have pretty much scratched my head to as well as the matter is he ran a tight ship, yet he was blindsided as to what was going on, even though his tight aide will always communicate with this guy. It's something is not adding up. Either you ran a tight ship or you didn't run a tight ship at all. But again, there has to be proof, and until we actually know what fully happened, we can only speculate, and that's the only thing I can go about on that. Do I think he knew more than what he's saying? Yes, but is there any evidence that says otherwise? No. And until that evidence shows that there was something that, yeah, he knew more than what he's saying, I'm going to have to wait and see what the evidence is here. I'm kind of curious what these subpoenas will lead to. There's definitely been a lot of rumblings in the air. Family members, especially those who reported on this more fully, have said that one of them is looking for immunity, which raised my eyebrows, which tells me that if he says a lot of stuff that's happened, he's looking to not go to jail time because, no make no mistake about it, what he did was a criminal offense and he can see some serious jail time. You don't play with games when it comes to people's safeties and people's livelihoods, and that's exactly what these people have done. And to me, they're a bunch of cowards, and I don't feel sorry for them once they get the full punishment. The question still remains here is, did Christie knew about it? Did Christie knew what was happening? And if so, then yeah, I think that probably a punishment should be coming to him as well. There's no question about it. But I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. So I'm gonna leave a link to the story I just read, and hear your opinion on the matter. But right now, I gotta move on. I got 3 more stories. I might as well talk about Vladimir Putin. I didn't put this in the entertainment roundup because to me this is more about political than anything else. But it seemed like Russian President Vladimir Putin sought Friday to reassure gay visitors to the Olympic Games that they are welcome in Russia despite the law banning gays uh, uh, propaganda to minors. Uh, Responding to the question from the Olympic volunteers during the visit in the Black Sea resort city, Putin vowed that gays are not face no discrimination in Russia and could feel at ease, but he emphasized because of the new Russian law, they cannot express their views on gay rights issues to anyone underage. Putin appeared to limb homosexuality and pedophilia together. He has no ban on non-traditional sexual relationships. We have banned on propaganda of homosexual and pedophilia. I want to underline that the propaganda amongst minors. This doesn't make any damn sense, but again, I gotta stress this before I move on here. This has been the stigma that gays have been having pretty much forever. That if you're gay, you automatically assume that you're going to attack minors. I don't know where that came from. I don't know where they're backing it up from. People who actually asked for information regarding to this situation, they had no evidence whatsoever. So I don't know where rumors has been putting us on. Again, this is something that either he himself and that country don't understand or choose not to understand, or just using this as a crutch to make this anti-gay law. Uh, Putin and other political politicians have defended the Jew and propaganda law as a protection of child rights, but cities believe that the law discriminates against sexual minorities, and laws specifically refer only to propaganda as non-traditional sexual relations. And that's the problem with this whole thing. They're assuming that most of people who commit sexual acts are people who are gays and lesbians, and that's something that's simply not true. And to me, it's a stigma that I think people need to really stop doing, because it's ridiculous. To me, it's absolutely ridiculous to actually put every last gay in that category. The article said we aren't banning anything, we aren't rounding up anyone, they have no criminal punishment of such relationship, unlike many other countries, which, to their defense, is true, because Africa is much worse. And what's even worse about that is that some of their influence come from this country. Right? People who actually come from this country stirring up fear in other countries as a result of that. And this is actually something you can look up yourself. Countries are trying to pass laws, if you're gay, you can get executed. And the idea is coming from homophobes and those who are anti-gays from this country, all because they want to see how the results ends up here. This is something I'm not even joking around. I'm not kidding around. Look it up. I'm not even going to post any links. I want you guys to look up for yourself and you see for yourself just how cruel some of these laws are in other countries. So I will say that to Russia's respect on that part. But this law is still messed up. I'm just keeping it real. The law is very much messed up. But but they're all right about one thing. Other countries are far worse. One can feel relaxed and at ease, but please leave the children at peace. Moving along, in the wake of the international outcry against the bill, Russia authorities have put limits on the rights to protest during the social games, which runs February 7th to 23rd. The presidential decree intentionally banned all rallies from Suki from June 7th to March 24th, but Putin later reclined to the ban to allow demonstrations at at venues demonstrated by the Internal Ministry. I'll leave a link below to this article because it's a very important article. I think this is also very important to see what's going on in other countries and come from this issue. I do not agree with this law at all, of course. But again, I have to stress I'm not in that country. I don't live in that country. But this is something that, again, I recently, and by the way, just to let you know, I recently reported on this on Entertainment Roundup with The Bachelor, and how he had made some comments that pretty much reflects Putin and a lot of the people out there. They see homosexuality as a pervert thing that they are using to attack children. They don't believe that gays should be having children to raise. They fear that they will be molested, attacked, and they'll grow gay themselves. And there's this stigma that's constantly is being thrown out there, even though I stress again, there is no evidence backing this up. This is based on fear and propaganda themselves. That's what that is. It's an anti-gay law that's based on that. And to me, uh, anytime we have a law based on fear and fear alone, it's not a good law. It's not a good law. I don't care if you agree or disagree with the lifestyle they live in. When you start passing laws to discriminate against other people, which no matter what they can say, it's still discrimination. And and the fact that he said just leave the children alone, it makes me wonder: do you really believe that's the main issue of child molestation? I can tell you right now, it's not. Trust me, it's a far more crime than what people may think. But for some reason, they link the two together. It's not, and to me, it's wrong. It's just wrong. But I'll let you guys comment on it yourself. I'll let you guys um, give your own view on it. Whether you agree with it or not, I still like to hear your view on it. Whether you believe this law is just or not just, I like to hear your view on it. Um, but for now, moving on to the next story. Um, in this story, I'm going to say one thing. This was brought to my attention to the Young Turks. This was to revolve that horrific incident in the movie theater that left a man dead. And the article pretty much says that the guy who was responsible for the shooting, which was his name is Curtis Reed, a retired police officer, said that he feared for his life Keep in mind, the man was got popcorn for him, and that was all the justification he needed to pull out a gun and shoot a man to death. This happened in Florida, and the article said, "Don't be surprised if a Florida movie theater shooter, retired police captain Curtis Reed, used the controversial standing ground law to justify murdering Chad Olstein during an altercation about texting at a Club King Briscoe movie theater in Weasley Chapel. Reed was charged with second-degree murder. Judge Lynn Tepper ordered him held without bond, saying his evidence of guilt is significant. The Tampa Bay Times speculated that Reed could use the legalization which allowed for people to use deadly force if a person feared death of a great bodily harm. Even if retreat is possible, well, let's see how the people would attack Trayvon Martin, who was killed by George Zimmerman, will react to a white-on-white shooting. I'm going to get back on that, but I'm going to keep reading here. Curtis Reed reportedly said that Chad Olson had thrown an object at him, and therefore he feared for his life. The object was popcorn. He feared for his life, of course, like Trayvon Martin. Chad Olson isn't there to give his version of this event, which led to his murder, but thankfully his wife and other witnesses witnessed the altercation. And that's a big key. In this article, it shows the popcorn in question. Yes, this popcorn is very deadly. I can see that. Bristol County Sheriff Office investigating said the following series of events lead up to the shooting. Reeves wanted Chad Olson to stop texting. He walked out of and complained to the theater manager. When Reeves returned on to the 120 showing of Lone Survivor, words were exchanged. Olson threw a bag of popcorn at Reeves and arrested in a arrest affiliate state. Witness said that the pair did not throw punches. Then Reed pulled a gun and shot Olson, who was pronounced dead in the hospital. It says here again, so a bag of popcorn is now a deadly weapon, kind of like George Zimmerman. They didn't say they're throwing George Zimmerman's name a lot in this article. Anthony Marco argued that Trayvon Martin used the sidewalk as a deadly weapon. Don't get me wrong, it is incredibly disrespectful for Chad Olson to throw the popcorn at Curtis Reed, but that's no justification to fatally shoot him. I agree on that. It's no surprise that the retired police captain approached the other moviegoer, but texting 3 weeks ago, the Daily Mail report sounds a lot like the George Zimmerman type of vigilantism. I'll leave a link below. I'm going to say this right now, what's the difference here, and it's not even about the white and white thing. It's about people's impulses. He can say self-defense all he wants, but the point I'm going to say is this. He was nowhere near imminent threat. He got up and walked away. He told the ushers or the manager of what the situation going. Once that happened, let them do their job. Why did you feel the need to go back to that person? Why did you feel the need to go there and confront that person? You couldn't just change seats. This is the thing that keeps bothering me. This is why stand your ground laws, especially if it's not written correctly, will have problems like this. And I know they keep throwing George Zimmerman's name on the situation, and Trayvon Martin's name. Let's look at the big picture here. The man was trigger happy because there's really no reason why he needed to pull out his gun. I don't care what the NRA says about if everybody had guns, there wouldn't be no problem. The man walked away. If it was that insulting, all he needed to do was just tell them, Look, you don't even need to confront the guy. Just tell them what you did. You told the people that, hey, look, man, this guy's texting and he's being disrespectful. Obviously, this was an issue because, from what I heard in further reports, other people were saying, look, you're being disrespectful. But you went back there and confronted the guy. Did you expect to end nicely? If you already know the guy's getting angry before you're reporting him, why go back there nicely? Now, the guy throws popcorn. I get it. This guy was being disrespectful. He didn't need to throw the popcorn. But you just said an object was thrown, so automatically you're going to just open your gun and shoot the guy? And from what I understand, what has been reported from some news outlet is saying that Standing Ground will not stand on the situation. But they also made it clear that race may have played a factor in that, and if it was the opposite, then maybe that would have stand. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not going to try and play the race card in this situation because to me, I'm looking at the fact. A father of a young daughter is gone. His wife was wounded trying to protect him. She's a widow. No one's smelling out roses. And no matter what he can say, the fact is you pulled out a gun and shot him because he threw popcorn at you. And again, the stand your ground law seems to justify not using common freaking sense. Not using the one thing that people should use, and that is get up, walk away, avoid a situation, avoid trying to engage in a confrontation. Now again, they said that the standard ground law doesn't apply to here. I'm not too sure. He could actually use it, but from what I understand from the sheriff that was talking in the news article this morning, he's not probably going to get it. We can only wait and see. But again, it's this voluntary vigilante mentality that's causing a lot of problems. And keep in mind, the record speaks for itself. This ain't the first time. The Dorsman situation is the first time. There's a whole lot of cases involving this. And it's not solving the problem at all. And you got politics who are constantly justifying a law that they themselves are not looking at and they themselves are not trying to fix. If you're going to have stand your ground, fine. But you know what? You have to word it properly. Texas has stand your ground and it's very strict on how to use it. And people have been going to jail for using it wrong. And I did reports on that. I did a lot of reports on that. So I'm sorry. I mean, Florida needs to wake up. This is happening way too many times. Over stuff that could be easily avoided if people just get up and walk away. Period. He didn't need to go back there. He didn't need to confront that guy. You already did your job. You went and told the people, let them handle it. And if he can't stop texting, they will throw him out the theater. They do it in mines. Now, before I end this, and I will leave a link to this, there's something I need to bring up here. Something that did bother me with the Young Turks here. And before I go on, I'm going to say this. I'm going to be saying this a lot because there's another story I got to talk about that I am going to be doing as an audio time topic for Matic Expression. But I got to bring this up here. And that's professionalism at the Young Turks. Now, before I go on, I want to go on and say I do respect the Young Turks. They do a great job covering stuff that is important. They do bring up a lot of very good social issues, and I respect them dearly for that. Not many news outlets out there does this, that they focus on the importance of the news. With that being said, there are certain people in the Young Turks, I'm not going to name names, you're pretty much, when you see the news and you see what they've been doing, you pretty much know who they are. There are some that are unprofessional and sometimes they go down to insulting. What I mean is when they reported this, they make their business of cursing out Florida. They made their business of basically bashing the state of Florida. They're not the only one that did this, of course. I know a lot of people have talked about Florida and the state of Florida. I know why I talk about the state of Florida when they lost some of the politicians. I blame this more on the politicians than I do than the citizens in there. That made it out of their way to make Florida look like a pretty much a damnation place to live. They call it a swamp, they call it dirt, they call it all sorts of names in the book. As much as I hate the stuff that's been going on in Florida with the prohibitions and the laws and the stuff that's also been brought out there, to to basically bash that state and those people who live there is a little bit out of line and unprofessional as a newscast. And I was very disappointed that that person who did that, whose name is escaping me right now, but even that I'm not gonna go that deep into it, will go all out and basically disrespect the state of Florida in that kind of fashion. To me, that's unprofessional and just uncalled for. You, as a person who also to do news like this, and whether you call it real news or not, that's pretty much your prerogative. I still have to keep a professional thing about this because I know that there are certain people in Florida who look at this as well. And as the situation is, as much as I hate the political stuff that's going on in Florida, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people in Florida doesn't like it as well. In fact, the approval rating for the governor is not great at all. So that says a lot. At the same time, I also gotta be mindful that hey, there are people here looking at that at what I do, and there's also people who are looking at the young Turks from Florida what I can do, and yeah, they ain't gonna take too likely of bashing them in that way. I understand that from the media aspect, and I'm seeing a lot of them from Radio Dead Air to Young Turks to David Pakman show to even some of the conservative shows love to pick stories from Florida because of a lot of the crazy stuff that goes on there. But again, we got to keep in mind there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on in New York. Doesn't mean all New Yorkers are like that. Doesn't mean that all Florida's like that, or people in South Carolina like that. Keep in mind there are also good people who live in those states, and to just bash their state the way they did is, especially for them as a news outlet, is really uncalled for, unprofessional. And I think that for the most part, I think that the Young Turks, at least in my opinion, owe Florida a bit of an apology for that because again, that was a little bit uncalled for and that was not needed to be done. To me, report the news, be passionate about what you're reporting, but always remain professional and know that hey, the people you're bashing may be the same people also got your support. Um, that's just my feedback on the situation. That's just my criticism. Take it for what it is. But to me, they really went over the line for that. And like I said, I'm more upset with their policies and how they ran that state than anything else. I'm more getting on to the politics who are blinded by this law they have made than just them. Keep in mind, there's not everybody agrees with what they're doing, and I think to bash the people of Florida for what their policy representatives are doing is a little bit just overstepping it a little bit. But again, that's just my opinion. You guys may not agree with it. I like to hear your point on it, and I'm gonna leave it at that. With that being said, let's go to the last story of the day. This is pretty much a good news story. Like I said, I always end the story with either good news or weird news, or a little bit of both. This one involves a couple who was injured in the Boston Marathon bombing. According to this article, they are getting a fairy tale wedding. This article was posted on the 16th of 2014, and it basically goes like this. Um, Rebecca Gregory and Pete Demento were writing was waiting at the finish line at the Boston Marathon when the bomb went off on April 15, 2013. Now, almost a year later, the couple is getting ready to walk down the aisle, and thanks to the wedding planner website, The Knox, they received a wedding of their dreams. The couple met in 2012 and began a long distance relationship. In April 2013, they were in Boston. They were in Boston to um, cheer the Monto's mother as she ran the marathon. Gregory's 6-year-old son was there too when the bomb went off. Gregory intensely shielded her son and in the process broke almost every bone in her foot, leg, and ankle. She's still in a wheelchair. Um, she lost 90 pounds. She lost 90% of her right uh, tendon and suffered broken ankles bone This is DiMartino lost 90% of his right ligament tendon and suffered broken ankle bones, and a ruptured eardrum. But the tragic event of that day put the love in perspective. On October 13th, um, the Matteo proposed to uh, Gregory. Of course, she said yes. Um, the article also goes, in the end, we decided our relationship was worth more. This is the, uh, the the woman who said Gregory told the people. We realized that we didn't have to survive that day. We could have lost one another, and for me, I know we didn't want to spend another day without this guy. For every time I had left on this earth, I wanted to be with him. The Knox heard about the couple's hardship and chose them as the 2014 Dream Wedding recipient. The couple entered entire wedding from flowers to dress to the cake will all be voted on by readers, but Knox will foot the bill. Being able to show people that you can take something so horrible and turn it into something so beautiful has been such a blessing for us. Um, Gregory told the Knox. I don't know if I'll be able to walk down the aisle, but I know what I do. I'm sorry. I know I want to do is marry the love of my life, Pete. This is not the only love story that came out of the tragedy event that day. Boston bomber survivor James Castillo is set to marry the nurse who helped him recover after he was badly burned and hurt by shrapnel in the blast. One. Okay, so that's pretty much all I got to say read on that situation. Again, my apologies for stepping over some words. But yeah, that is some good news to hear. As you guys know, the Boston Marathon was a huge tragedy. New York, of course, felt that. And it was pretty much blowing some bad vibes to what we went through and the verge of 9/11 and how that affected us. And our symphonies have been poured out all the way through Yankee Stadium, for that matter. So to hear a story like this, and hear something that's such positive that came out of such tragedy is something that is worth talking about, something worth reading about. I'm going to leave a link below, of course, so you guys can read it for yourself. But I wish the couple nothing but the best. And again, this is something that could have ended terribly, but it actually brought them closer together. And this was not the first story you actually heard. One guy actually married his nurse. So those stories are always worth talking about, always worth reading about, and always worth hearing your guys' feedback about. And I will leave a link for you guys to do so. I will leave a link to all the stories that I have talked about. And as always, if you got any feedback, be more than happy to bring it out. That's what the comment section is for. Whether you agree, disagree with what I've said, doesn't really matter. It's your opinion. And with that being said, this is J77 saying take care, be safe. I'll talk to you soon.